Well, hello everybody. In this video, I'm going to be talking about how to hook up the drain part of your kitchen sink assembly if you've got a garbage disposal or if you don't have a garbage disposal. So some of the things you're going to need, these little guys. This one is actually a disposal waste. If you were to buy this in the store, it's probably going to come in some kind of fancy box with pictures all over it, but the way we buy them, they just come in a plain bag or they come in a box with just nothing on it. But there's pretty much two ways. If you've got a double basin sink, if you've got a garbage disposal, you're going to need the disposal waste. If you've got just two basket strainers coming down, that's when you're going to use this in-outlet waste. So let's bring the camera in and break them out on the table and kind of show you what I'm dealing with here. Alright, now the first one I'm going to talk about is your disposal waste. And these typically come in a kit, so let's go ahead and get him out of here. Now be careful, there's some little rings and stuff in here, little washers and stuff you're going to need. Throw away your bag. You're going to have two of these. Now we typically call these top hat extensions. They are a tailpiece, but it's flat, it's different. It's not like your standard compression, which is a nut that you squeeze. There are some of those in here, but the basic assembly of this shorter one is going to be for your basket strainer. Now the basket strainer comes with a washer and a metal piece. I don't have that. That's going to be up there on my sink. So you're going to slip those on first, that metal ring, and then you put that on like that, and then there's a beveled little washer here. And it goes like that. And then that goes in the top of here. Make sure when you're doing these, you seat it all the way down in this groove here. Now you can cut this. You can cut all of these. If you need to trim them, well, you're not going to cut that one. But that's going to be the part that goes under your basket strainer. Now the next part you're going to have is for your garbage disposal. And it's the same deal. Now there's a metal ring and plate for your garbage disposal, and it comes in your garbage disposal kit. And of course you're gonna put that on here first, and it does come with a rubber ring. Your garbage disposal comes with one of these, but it's just kind of a flat washer. I prefer using these because it's got a little groove in here, and you can pop this on over the pipe like that, and it's going to give you a much better seal. But that's basically the whole kit for your disposal waste. Underneath that you're going to have a P-trap. Let's talk about what they call an in-outlet waste. Now mine just comes in a plain bag here. It does have some writing there. I mean, box here. It does have some writing on it. And this is another kit too. This one's going to look a little different. Here's your little Y connector. It's got a little top hat extension that goes under for your basket strainer. Remember the metal part for this, the ring, or the nut and the washer, those are going to be on your basket strainers. They don't come in this kit. They did give you some extra top hats here. These are the flat top hat washers. They're different than your beveled compression washers. But basically, you're going to have the ring and the beveled washer goes on like that, with the tapered end down. The tapered end is going to go in this socket. I'm not a big fan of this particular type because it's got a really short socket here. Now these, if you're dealing with a standard double basin kitchen sink, which is very popular, you see a lot of them, this is pretty much cut right to length already. But yeah, when you put this together, don't forget to put your your ring and your little beveled washer on with the narrow side toward the socket. Sorry. Kind of difficult to keep it in the picture here. And then you've got another one here. This is the same deal. But you're going to use this guy when you just have 2 basket strainers and you don't have a disposal. There are different types of these. I like the one that's got a socket similar to your disposal waste that's got some adjustment to it, because you can get all of that pipe up in that pocket in there, and it's less chance to leak. These tight, close ones, this one's not so bad, but I've seen some that are a lot smaller than this, and you can almost wiggle that and pop it right out of there because the little cavity is so small. But that's the basics on that one, and then they do have the rings to go on down the rest of the way. Your P-trap assembly. Now, some people call these a master trap because it's everything you need right here in a little bag, and they do sell this, like I said, at hardware stores, but it's not going to be in a plain bag. It's just the way our stuff comes. Because we buy so much of it that there's no sense, we know what's in the box, there's no sense in putting fancy advertising on it. P-trap's very simple. Every lavatory, every kitchen sink you've got in your house is going to have a P-trap on it, and it's called a P-trap because of the way it's shaped. Now this one's a little different. I'm not a big fan of these kind. Well, I can't get it back off of there now. I'm not a big fan of these kind because it's got this little edge here. The old ones, it was just a bevel that was just built into that, but you do have to put a washer on this. You'll slide a ring down the other one, and then you'll put another ring on. Now this is where you're gonna glue to your pipe coming out of your wall. This is your P-trap adapter, and it basically just glues onto a 1/2-inch pipe, PVC, and you can then screw this arm for your P-trap on. And I'd normally put that on first, and then you attach your P-trap up underneath. And here again, this does have a socket. You're going to want to get as much pipe in that socket as you can. Now, when it comes to this stuff, well, you're not going to cut that, but you might cut your this arm, little piece off of that. And then, like I said, you might need your double-ended extension here, tailpiece extension. It's a compression fitting just like all the rest of this stuff. This is designed to be cut in half. So you'll cut this and you'll get 2 out of it. Last but not least in my little collection here, if you don't have a garbage disposal and you're gonna hook up your dishwasher to your kitchen sink drain, you're going to need one of these, and this is just a dishwasher tailpiece. This used to be a very common thing, but you don't see them a lot because most people have garbage disposals, and there are different types, and you can put this on flat like that, or you can stand it up like that. It is directional, and it does have like a little divider in there so that it's not blowing the water back up at you. So pretty neat thing. Well, let's go ahead and install our in-outlet waste first. This is kind of older deal. Now, if you're dealing with a house that has a septic tank, they highly recommend that you do not put garbage disposals on septic tanks, because you can fill that septic tank up with a lot of waste material that's not necessary. It's alright for city sewers and stuff like that because they're handling a lot more of that stuff, but your personal little septic tank, you don't want to have a lot of food stuff in there. So you'll have 2 basket strainers like this. Now these are the newer style, the longer with a small nut. It's got this little cup here. I did a video on how to install these if you're interested in learning how to do that, but there's no sense in doing it again because we're just talking about our tailpieces and stuff here. So you got your in-outlet waste, and for the most part, This should hook up, line up just right, but for some reason this one is wanting to be just a touch off, but we'll take care of that in a little bit. The first thing you want to do is get these little top hat extensions out. And your kit came with 2 of the little top hat washers, and these also came with them and this metal nut. So you're going to put that metal nut on there, and you're going to put that little plastic washer in there and go ahead and assemble it. And then of course you're going to put a pair of pliers on these, but we'll tighten it all up at one time later. And then you'll do the other side. Now for this piece, you'll have, sorry, getting ahead of myself, need to put the plastic compression nut on and the washer with the tapered, the narrow side down, and it should go up on there and hold your thing like that, hold your nut. And you can go ahead and do it to the other side as well. Now this is going to be a little difficult because we have to trim this pipe ever so slightly. And you can kind of get it up on here, get you a little measurement. It's not off by much. And then I recommend, now this is a great big old saw, get a smaller saw than this, but you're going to want to hand cut this stuff. Don't use your tubing cutters on these because you will crack it. They do have, they do have these little tubing cutter things that are just for these. It's like a little razor blade, kind of like a envelope, paper cutter or envelope thing. It's got a little metal blade, and you can pop it on there and run it around, and it'll cut this off pretty good. And then you will want that and your little washer, and we'll slide that in up on there, and that's pretty good. It's in there pretty tight. You want to keep these pushed up on there. Now this thing already is designed with a certain degree of fall to it, so you really shouldn't have to worry about that. But if you're poking down like that or something, that's pretty much level. You don't want that to happen. You want to be all the way up on there, and these are going to be hand tight. Now when I was doing this every day for new construction productions, I'm sorry, I just realized that I messed up for my drain here. I've actually got this thing backwards. But that's no big deal, because all we've got to do is pop it around the other way. Now what I was going to say before I realized my mistake was when I was doing this every day, I used to put a little bit of what they call thread sealant, plumbers call it pipe dope, around my little threads here, just for that extra little bit. You shouldn't need it, and I've seen a lot of the guys nowadays, they take their Teflon tape and they wrap it around those threads, just for that extra little leak protection. Now, you know, when we're doing 6 or 7 of these a day, every single day, anything you can do to prevent a small leak, go ahead and do it. If it's going to take you 2 seconds just to put some pipe dope or Teflon tape around these threaded fittings, might as well go ahead and do it, because if it leaks, you could have a whole lot of damage in your cabinet. You could damage the floors, all kinds of stuff could happen. Or if you're testing the house and you got a little drip and you gotta come back and tighten stuff up, it's just better to use that few seconds and go ahead and protect yourself. Okay, the next step is gonna be your putting on your P-trap. Now, I kind of like to pull these out of the bag and just kind of go ahead and put them together. Something I wanted to point out was the guy who was doing this the last time in the training center here, he had to arm this over, and I normally don't like him gluing these fittings on like that. That's why I had to flip this around, because I wasn't planning ahead there. But if he went straight out, there was no way his P-trap was going to swing to catch any of these drains. He was going to have an extension, or we call it arming over when you do something like that. But this is basically, you're going to glue that P-trap adapter on. All this is already glued on for me. If you're doing, if you're replacing one of these, you're probably going to have that trap adapter already there for you, and you might have a metal one, and you could just hook all this right back to that, unless you're trying to replace some of the drain back through here. Now, as you see here, there's a gap here, and that's where your tailpiece extension comes into play. Now, I went ahead and cut it just so y'all didn't have to watch me fight with that big old saw. Something I want to point out is when you take this cap and nut off, there's going to be two little washers in there, and they're two different sizes. One of them's slightly smaller than the other one. Now, on this application, we're going to use that bigger one. The little small one is for your metal tailpieces or pop-up assemblies for like your lavatories and stuff. So you're going to want to go ahead and slide that on like that, and I cut it just so it would sit right down in that socket. And I think I'm missing something. See, I go ahead and put things together like that, and then you can slide this up on there. Well, let me get this out of the way. Getting ahead of myself here. Now, if you're doing this professionally, or well, if you're doing it for yourself too, you're going to want to look at this stuff and make sure everything looks straight. You're going to want those pipes all the way down in the sockets on these things to prevent leaks, and then you're going to come back and you're going to tighten these up. The plumber who taught me, he said get it as tight as you possibly can with your hands, and then put your pliers on it and turn it another quarter turn. But something I found out, I've been doing it long enough, I can pretty much tighten the crap out of these things with just my hand, and it works just fine. I don't like putting channel locks or slip joint pliers on these things, because it boogers them all up. Like I said, if you're doing this professionally, if you're doing this for a homeowner, if you're doing this for a builder, even though it's functional, it still has to look pretty. And that's one of the big things. Everything has a cosmetic value to it, even though it's under a sink, even though it's in a cabinet. But that is your in-outlet waste. Now for our disposal waste. I'm going to try to stay out of the way the best I can so you can see what's going on here. So you're going to start with your disposal. It's where I typically start. And go ahead and put your little rubber ring on here. I used the one that came with the disposal waste. Your garbage disposal is going to have a metal ring and some washers. So you're going to go ahead and put that in and push it up on there. There's two little screws that it came with, little bolts. And it's more of a bolt than a screw. And this is where those nut drivers and stuff come in real handy. Go ahead and get that tightened down. And then for your basket strainer over here, you're going to have another top hat extension. So you're going to want to put your little washer on there and get the ring for it and put it up on here too. Now, I would say typically these things are cut right for you. But this would have been cut right more for the older style where it would have been more up here than say down here. So we can't really use that piece. I got a smaller one here we're going to try. And remember, you got to put a nut and your little grommet or your compression washer on there, and then you should be able to get ahead of himself. Put your nut and your little beveled washer on there. If you don't put that washer on there, it's not going to work. And then you're going to put this, slide this. See, the reason why I like this one with the deep pocket is there's less cutting, and you can pop that up on there. Now, just like the in-outlet waste, it should work pretty well without having to do any kind of modifications or cutting anything or anything like that. But you are going to want to make sure that that's falling across there. But that's pretty much it. These are a little bit easier, I think, but you do have that adapter there for your garbage disposal, and then you have your top hat over here, and your dishwasher is going to hook into that. So let's do our P-trap. Now, the setup we did should, I say should, work, but it's not going to work. I kind of, it's kind of low, but I kind of normally get this, the P-trap on here and kind of line it up. Not quite. Running out of fittings because I left them on other things. But you can do this either way. You can shove it down in there first. But these things, it's not bad. Once you do it a few times, you won't think nothing about it. But make sure you go back and you check all these fittings. Make sure they're all tight. And of course, when you're done, you're going to turn the water on. And run this sink several times. Fill it all the way up and pull the plug and dump it. That's what we call it. You call it dumping the sink. And you dump it and all the water, make sure it goes down. Get down here with a little flashlight, blow on this stuff. Yeah, actually blowing on it is one of the plumber's tricks, because if you got a little teeny leak and you blow on it, you'll see that little water starting to move or bead up. It's a pretty neat thing. When I first heard about it, I was like, nah, that ain't nothing. But no, it actually works. You can actually see it going on. But there is your complete disposal waste with the P-trap. One more piece to talk about, and that's this little dishwasher extension. It's got the little spout on it. Now, typically you would use one of these if you had a dishwasher and you didn't have a garbage disposal. But I've also seen these used when somebody didn't want to knock that plug out for some reason. and they've taken one of these and put it in line. Now, it is directional, so remember that, and I have seen a lot of people put them up here like this, which you can do, that's okay, because it does have that little baffle in there that's going to keep it moving in that direction. But you can put this anywhere. You can put any other extension. You can put it over here, down here, and have your dishwasher coming in. You can even put it down here. But yeah, pretty much anywhere you can put an extension. But this is just an extra piece, part of this family, same type of plastic, same size and everything, and we do see those still. Just remember, if you have a single basin sink with a garbage disposal, the garbage disposal comes with this little black drop ear, downspout, whatever you want to call it, and you can drop this straight into your P-trap, and you don't have none of this other stuff. You just have this coming straight down and going into an extension and your P-trap. And on your fancier sinks, that's just one big basin, one big square thing, you will be using that piece. But this does come with your garbage disposal. It's not an extra piece that you need to buy. Alright, well that pretty much does it for this video. I'm planning on having a lot more come out. I got a lot of people asking me, oh, can you do one on this? Can you do one on that? I'm hitting them one at a time as I can. There's a lot of stuff to go through in plumbing, but I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope you learned something, and I hope that now you can tie in the drain on a kitchen sink. Thanks a lot.